Hey friends, it's Christy. Welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I would share a quicker video on how I cut apart my dies. So this was something that I asked you guys if you were interested in when I got my new Lawn Fawn wire snips. And you guys said that you would like to see a video on this, so I'm just going to take you through that. So I have the brand new Elephant Parade stamp set from Lawn Fawn, along with the matching dies, and I need to cut these apart because I'm actually filming a card video with these today. So I'm just going to walk you through what I do. So the only tools that you need are some wire snips. Like I said, these are the ones from Lawn Fawn. I've been using these for about a month now and really enjoying them. I like them much, much better than my old set. These are just really comfortable in the hand, and I like the spring action. They pop back out. My old set doesn't do that, you know. So that's really nice. And also the angled tip makes it really nice to get into all the little areas to cut your dies apart. So what I use to put my dies on the backs of my pockets is magnetic vent covers, and I trim these down. So this is the brand that I am currently using, and I picked these up at Home Depot. I also will use the brand that Lowe's carries, but lately they haven't had them in stock, so I've been picking them up at Home Depot. So they just come in these really long sheets, and I just cut these down into 4-inch strips. So I do 2 4-inch strips, and then the end piece I turn and do another 4-inch strip, but they're a little bit shorter. So my width is always the same, but sometimes my height is different. And, you know, different die sets have different amounts of dies included. So that actually works out fine. If it's a set with a lot of dies, I'll use the longer one to start out with. And if it's a set with fewer dies, I'll use one of the shorter ones to start out with. And then when I'm all done, if there's any excess at the top, I just trim off the leftover. So that's what I do. So I'm just going to take you through the steps here. What I do is I use a baby wipe, and I just have the Huggies Natural Care fragrance-free ones, but I mean, you can use any. I just keep these on hand in the drawer next to my desk. And somehow I feel like because it's a bit damp, it does help collect all those little metal shavings that you're going to get. So I just lay this out here, and then I pull the dies off the paper, discard that, and then I usually start with the largest one first. It doesn't really matter though, and I just get right in there. So I make sure that that flat part of the wire snips is right up against the die, and then I can just trim that out. So missed one there. So there you can see it's all clean on the outside edge. There's a couple tiny little bumps there, but they aren't sharp at all. I can run my finger over those because I got in there so tight. So I will just then work my way around the dies in the center, snipping those off as close to the edge as possible. So there we go, and I'll go ahead and place that on my magnetic sheet. And then I can continue just getting right up close. And what I do to get the closest cut possible is I actually kind of put the die in the wire snips so that it's really nice and tight up against the die, and then I kind of twist the die. I just find that that makes it easiest to get like the finest cuts, and also your little metal bits don't go flying around as much that way. If you're just snipping, sometimes, you know, they'll go flying across your craft room. And you can even get one in the eye or something. In fact, the snips even say, please use safety glasses. And that's probably a good idea. I don't do that. But I mean, if you feel like you should wear safety glasses, definitely do it, because they do fly around a bit, especially depending on how you snip them out. But like I said, because I'm kind of like holding on to this metal bit with the wire snips, you can see I'm not holding it at all, just with the wire snips and turning the die. See, that one did pop, but it landed on this baby wipe, so it didn't go flying across the craft room. I just feel like I get a bit more control that way by just turning the die, and it kind of just hangs on to those little bits until I open my wire snips again, and then it just falls down and collects onto the baby wipe. So I just continue working my way around, trimming those off until I have all of the dies separated. And I used to then take the dies and label them on the back with a Sharpie, like a fine tipped Sharpie, and I would write like LF for Lawn Fawn, and then maybe EP for Elephant Parade, and then I would count how many dies were in the set and do like 1 of 17, 2 of 17, 3 of 17, 4 of 17, and that way I knew if I lost one, you know, if one was missing, I would know exactly how many I was supposed to have. But over time I found that the Sharpie on the dies just didn't dry all the time. Sometimes it did and sometimes it didn't. And so when I would run those dies through my die cutting machine, that writing would come off on my plates. And then if you didn't notice it right away, it could transfer onto your other images or your paper that you were die cutting or whatever. So I stopped doing that. I no longer label the dies, but I'm just very careful when I'm die cutting, because I often will stamp out images from multiple sets for a card. And when I die cut them now, I try to only use one die set at a time. So it does mean more trips over to the die cutting machine, but it does help me just keep track a little bit better of what dies go with which sets, because you know it's very easy to get confused and accidentally put the, see, let me just show you this. If that time I actually put the snips against the smaller die instead of the inside of the larger die, and that's when you get those little bits that can poke you and you can cut yourself pretty bad on there. So I try not to do that, but if I do, again, I just get in there with these snips, and because they have those angled long blades, you can get in there pretty quick and easy without much effort. And sometimes I do find it easier to come in from the back side, just depending on the angle that I need to get into. So I will sometimes flip them over and do it that way, if that, you know, gives me easier access to all of those little bits. But as I was saying, I'm sure if you've been using matching dies for any length of time, it's easy to get one separated from its stamp set and then not be able to tell what set it belongs to. So I just try to do one at a time, or sometimes two at a time if they, you know, don't look too similar. So this is what I do, and then I like to rearrange mine. I don't like to nestle them inside each other. I just find that harder to access. So I will like adjust and move things around and try to get it kind of level at the top if possible. And then I just take my paper trimmer, and this I'm done with now. It has all those little bits, so I'll just fold that over, and then I'll toss that in my garbage can, and everything is nicely contained. I don't have any little metal bits anywhere on my desk or in my craft room. Everything was all in one. And then I'll take my paper trimmer. This might not be completely on screen here, and then I don't use this blade here that I use for the paper. I just slide that one up out of the way. And I have one here that I have like a little marking on it, so I know that this is the one that I use for dies. It has a little D on there that you can barely see, but I can see it. So I'll just pop that one in, and then trim off the excess. And then this piece ends up going in the back of my stamp pocket, just like that. So everything is stored nice and neat inside there. I still need to do a label, but maybe I'll do that in another video and just show you how I put everything together. I do have a video on my channel, but it's pretty old. So anyway, that's what I do, and I hope that was helpful for you guys. Maybe you learned something new that will just help you cut your dies apart a little bit easier or safer. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please give it a thumbs up so that I know that you like and are interested in more of these kind of quicker tip videos. Yeah, and if you have any suggestions for me for future quick tips, let me know. I'd love to hear them. So thank you guys. Have a great day, and I'll see you soon in another video. Bye-bye.